Listening to Charlie's metaphor, Aoshui seemed to understand a little bit. She asked curiously, Master Charlie, as long as I practice hard, can I feel the presence of breath and guide the breath to move in my body? Charlie nodded and said with a smile, yeah. Don't you think how profound this thing is? Just like ordinary people singing, open your mouth and sing, and professional singers can control their breath and use their own part of the body which comes to participate in the resonance of the voice when singing. Some singers can resonate in the head cavity, while others resonate in the thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity. In fact, it is not something mysterious at all. As long as you find the right and appropriate method and practice hard, you can rewind and unwind freely. Aoshui said with excitement, thank you, Master Charlie. I will practice hard and never let Master Charlie down. Charlie smiled with satisfaction, nodded, and said, you must practice well. If you can practice the inner boxing technique to a certain level, then it is possible that in the future you will also be a master of the school itself. Aoshui stuck out her tongue and said seriously, I dare not expect to start a school. As long as I cannot let Master Charlie disappoint, it will be my greatest satisfaction. Charlie nodded and said, okay, if you have this determination, this thing would not be effective in a day or two, let alone the internal martial arts. Even if you are a ventriloquism performer, it may take a year or two to practice. Getting started, so you have to be calm, don't rush, don't be impatient. Aoshui immediately promised. Master Charlie, don't worry, I will control my emotions, fight steadily, and never be impatient. Charlie smiled and said, that would be the best. After that, Charlie began to help Aoshui and gradually familiarized her with the mental skills of 4 elephant palms. After 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Chin Gang ran over to Charlie and said, Master Charlie, Isik, Mr. Isik, and Orville are here and are drinking tea in the living room. Would you like to come out and sit? Charlie smiled and said, okay, I'll come over in a while. After finishing speaking, he said to Aoshui, Aoshui, you have already practiced for the afternoon, you can just stop here today. Aoshui was sweaty and tired at this time, so she nodded and said, okay Master Charlie, then you go have tea first, I will go back to the room and take a shower before coming down. Charlie nodded and then went to the living room with Chin Gang. In the living room, Isik and Orville just sat down. When Charlie came in, the two immediately stood up and respectfully said, hello Master Charlie. Both Isik and Orville knew Charlie's identity and knew that he was the young master of the Wade family. In private, they called him young master, but as long as there were other people around, their title to Charlie would be changed to Master Charlie. Charlie nodded lightly with the two of them and smiled. You two talked early enough. Did you come here together? Orville smiled at this time. Master Charlie, I happened to be working near the hotel of Mr. Isik, so I made an appointment with him and came over together. Charlie smiled slightly and said, by the way, Orville, I have handed over Benjamin's Shangmei Etiquette Company to my wife's cousin. Do you know this? Orville hurriedly nodded and said, Master Charlie, I know about this. Abner, that bastard, has already told me. I slapped him 20 times as punishment for helping Benjamin to abuse people. I have warned him, if he dares to participate in anything that pushes the good into a PR0 institution, I will abolish him. Charlie nodded and said seriously, from now on, I will say hello to your brothers in the underground world. Everyone will eat together and work in unison, but there must be some morals. P0RN, gambling, and drugs are a red line and you must not touch it. No matter how much money, you can't touch. Orville hurriedly said, Master Charlie, don't worry about this. I have already told my subordinates. This time I heard about what Benjamin did in the etiquette company. I also told my subordinates especially. Whoever dares to engage in this kind of stuff under my nose, I will definitely not forgive him. Charlie was satisfied and said, by the way, my wife's cousin, what etiquette needs you usually have, you can take care of her business, but don't be too exaggerated. Wendy used to have a flamboyant personality. I'm afraid she will be overwhelmed after gaining power. Orville nodded, okay Master Charlie, I'll see to it. After finishing speaking, he also asked with some doubts, Master Charlie, haven't you and your sister-in-law always been very troubled? I remember that she seemed to have a bad attitude towards you before, and she was awkward with you when she followed Fredman Wilson. Why did you take care of her? Charlie smiled and said, knowing mistakes can make corrections. It's great to be good. But if they never consider reforming lustful self, I will save them for their lives and let them reform in Changbai Mountain. After listening to Orville, he nodded gently and exclaimed, Master Charlie, you are always open and face anyone who has offended you before and give them a chance to reform. Orville admires your heart. Isaac couldn't help but sighed. Yeah, Master Charlie, as someone else, with your strength, when facing these dregs, I'm afraid I will just kill him. Charlie shook his head. If a person is not guilty of death, but wants to punish him with death, that would be too much force. The beggars gang Nanshan's gang has lost all their consciences. They really deserve to die, but Ragnar is certainly not guilty of death punishment, this is what I think. Yongzheng, Changming, and the son, although arrogant and defiant, they did not commit any capital crimes. If I kill them, how will I convince others in the future? Having said that, Charlie sighed slightly and said sincerely, I hope that my strength will continue to improve, and I also hope that my lineup will get stronger and stronger. Since I want to expand my lineup, I must be clear about rewards and punishments and be served by virtue. People, otherwise, how can we make everyone willing to use themselves for me? Orville clasped his fists and said with emotion, Master Charlie is right, Orville has been taught. As he was talking, Qin Gang brought in Wei's Pharmaceuticals, now Wei Liang, the general manager of Juzan Pharmaceuticals. Before Wei Liang arrived, he respectfully clasped his fists and said, Hello, Master Charlie. Charlie nodded and said with a smile, We are talking about the Wei family. You are here. Wei Liang asked curiously, Master Charlie, are you talking about the Wei family? What are you discussing, if I may know? Charlie said lightly, It's just chatting, talking about your father and your half-brother. I said that the reason why the two of them were sent to Changbai Mountain was mainly that they should not die. Wei Liang couldn't help but nodded and said, Master Charlie, you are a loving and righteous person. My father has always looked down upon my mother's birthplace and the Changbai Mountain where I grew up. You let him go to Changbai Mountain for the rest of his life. For him, it is the best punishment. Charlie nodded slightly and then said, By the way, Wei Liang, I haven't spared any time recently to ask you, what is the sales volume of Juxuanweisan during this time?